Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving Shorty, and before we get into this review, I'm just going to go right up front and say, if you've seen this video on social media anywhere, there's probably been some content warning you've seen with that. I'm going to put these on once I actually finish the recording, but just in case you've just clicked straight on it because you thought, handsome chap in a bandana, go and check it out. We're going to be talking about trans hatred, trans genocide, and an awful lot of propaganda kind of stuff. So if this is going to be a problem for you and you're not comfortable with this kind of discussion, I totally understand. Feel free to check out other videos I've done. I very rarely get this heavy and stuff, but I feel like it's worth it for this one. Right, that being said, what we're reviewing today is The Wicked Ones. It's from Scout Comics, who have put out some great stuff that I like. We know this, I've talked about them before. I'm not too familiar with the creators on this one, and I want to stress going forward that I do not know if any of these stuff I'm going to be talking about with regard to trans issues is their film and whole belief, or if it's just an analogy which is a little bit ill thought out, maybe. Or maybe I'm just putting way too much onto it and I'm seeing things that aren't there. I don't know. But I'm going to be talking about them because I have seen that, and a lot of art is interpretation, and this is my interpretation of it, and I want to be 100% upfront, but also I don't want to lay stuff on people if they've not gone in with the same intent that I've taken from it. Okay, so to start with, is it a good comic book? Well, yeah, actually, it's really cool. The artwork's fantastic, really nice set pieces, wonderful use of lighting and colour, stuff glows, and the combat sequences are pretty cool, the magic effects are fantastic. The writing is pretty solid, not like groundbreaking, but interesting enough, and there's some good world building going in there as well. I think the idea of magic in a world of superheroes, and how people would look on that kind of thing could be interesting in its own right. But none of that really is what I'm going to be talking about today, because there is some fairly solid issues here in terms of how this story is presented. We have this idea of a different class of people who have been literally eradicated by government and the individuals who support the government, and a few of them have survived. We have language used by allies and accomplices, which is very, very close to the idea of talking about trans lives, such as the argument about whether or not they have a right to even exist, and the how people talk about the eradication of them at the moment, which is all over the place, and the idea that people may put a child in a position where they are going to be something that they are not intended to be, without giving them the chance to give informed consent, and without even both parents' consent. Now, you probably can guess straight away that these are clearly trans issues which talk about quite a bit, but there's also the fact that fairly recently there has been a mass shooting in America where the perpetrator was trans, and I think this is just a bad timing thing. I don't want it to put it in anyone's mind that this comic book was put out specifically with that in mind. I think that would just be insane for them to have figured that out and put the comic book out the exact same, like roughly the same kind of week. I think that's too much, but it is relevant, and we're going to go through why that is. First off, we're talking about the fact that a whole bunch of people are killed, apart from a few. Now, the idea of trans eradication, yes, that is definitely in the news at the moment, and a lot of people saying it's a good thing. This story seems to be saying that, like, yeah, we definitely need to do that because these are dangerous, dangerous people, and the few that have survived are now more powerful and are striking back against people who aren't trans. Yeah, big unsubtle nod there. They're also not doing it, and this is very important, to fight back simply for their own survival. The person doing it is a magic-using assassin who charges millions of dollars to assassinate people who might even actually be allies to their cause. She very rarely would look into who these people are or why she's doing it. It is just part of the job. Yes, sometimes she does do personal ones, and sometimes she has a good justification, but other times she's just killing people and being paid a shitload of money for it. And when it is, in one particular part, an ally who has stood up for the rights of this marginalised group to exist, she still does it. She just charges more, and she knows it's a bad thing that she's doing, but she still goes ahead with it. We know she knows it's a bad thing she's doing because she really tries to make out that the death she gives him is as painless and as enjoyable as possible. She knows she's doing bad things, but still does them because she wants the money. It's very much laid out that way, and it's hard to separate those things. Onto the bit where we have a child. She has a best friend who is also a magic user, but nowhere near as overtly murdering. And they have a child. She has a child with her husband. The husband does not agree with the idea of this magic power being given to this child, but he's going along with it anyway because he doesn't want to argue about it. Now, if you've been following the debate on whether or not gender-affirming care for trans youth is an issue, you know very much where this is kind of based. But the two trans people in this game, in this comic book, the magic using people, still go ahead with it anyway when this is literally a child, like 5 or 6 years old, I'd be guessing. I'm not very good at judging ages of children, but that is clearly, it's the idea of actual surgery which would alter them rather than just calling by their correct name or letting them change their hairstyle or clothing choices. This is an actual medical transition in the context of this comic book that they're doing on a child with only one parent's consent. All of this to say, this is a big problematic comic book. Now, as I've said at the start, I'm not entirely sure the creators of the comic book were trying to go for this kind of thing, but it's very hard for me to see it and the language that they're using and not see the analogies that they're making. And I'm going to go back to what I was saying about whether or not this is a good comic book. Because I've said in the past that comic books that agree with my ideology, stuff that I think like cool, like punk and heavy metal, I've said they have to still be good comic books for me to enjoy them. I'm not going to like them because they're about what I enjoy. This opposite is not true. If a comic book is good but about terrible, terrible things, I can't just be like, well, it's still a good comic book, because I think the message it's saying is important here, if this is in fact the message they're saying. Now, I'm not going to tag the creators in this one because I don't want to start a big thing. I could be wrong, and if they do find this and they do want to talk to me about it, that's absolutely fine. But this is simply the opinion of a guy in a comic book store in the north of England. I don't want anyone to like read any more into it. Go and read the comic book yourself if you want to. If your local friendly comic book store has it on the racking, just ask if you can flick through it. I would be interested if people have read it and if they have same thoughts. Obviously, I know I'm putting myself up here for people who actually might agree with some things I disagree with to come and lay some stuff on me. Totally understand that. I'm all in favour of having arguments with people that disagree. I have no problem with that whatsoever, as long as we tried our best to avoid just being horrible people. I certainly will try my best on that one. This is one of the weirdest reviews I've done, and it's probably getting quite long, yeah, of 6.5 minutes now. So I do kind of apologise for anyone who just wanted to read, come and watch a comic book review today, but I read this one and I thought it was worth talking about in this manner. If I lose some subscribers on this one, it's not like I've got many, so I can live with that. Next week, I'm just going to carry on reviewing stuff, but it is Easter weekend around these parts, so we won't get any comic books until Thursday. So if you, having watched this, want to come back and watch anything else, that's cool. I hope to see you then. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.